Hey mamas, it's your girl Carrie and welcome back to another episode of Mom Wife Career Life. Today's episode is going to be a little different. This isn't a teaching episode. There aren't 5 tips or 3 ways to simplify your life. Instead, I just wanted to sit down and have a conversation with you because this month something really special is happening. On the surface, this episode is about reaching 100,000 downloads on this podcast. But if I'm being honest, that's not really what this episode is about. It's about dreams. It's about perseverance. It's about the seasons of life that don't go according to plan. And it's about what can happen when you refuse to let that little piece of your dream die, even when life gets busy, the timelines change, or you start wondering if you're ever actually going to make it happen. And because we're talking about dreams and goals today, I want you to think about a goal that's been sitting on your heart. Maybe it's something you've been working towards for years, something you've put on the back burner because life got busy, or maybe it's a dream you haven't even allowed yourself to say out loud. I created a goal manifesting planner to help you get that dream out of your head and onto paper. It has simple prompts that help you get really clear on what you want, why you want it, and start believing that it's actually possible for you. So if you're listening today, if a goal or a dream comes to mind, don't brush it aside. Scroll down to the show notes, grab my free goal manifesting planner, and give yourself permission to start dreaming about it again. Because sometimes the first step towards reaching your goal isn't knowing exactly how you're going to get there. Sometimes it's simply deciding that you're not giving up on it. So go grab your copy. The link is in the show notes. Are you feeling overwhelmed trying to juggle all the many hats you wear as a working mom? Do you want more quality time with your family without distraction of work? Time alone to take care of yourself and your needs? Welcome to Mom Wife Career Life. I'm Carrie, a wife, a mom of 3, and a recovering perfectionist. In this podcast, I will teach you how to create balance in your life by implementing healthy habits, organizing your home and your schedule, being so intentional with your time and in your relationships, and most importantly, how to start putting your needs first because no one can pour from an empty cup. Grab that second cup of coffee, or if you're anything like me, your third. It's time to dive into today's episode of Mom Wife Career Life. A little over 3 years ago, I wrote a letter to myself. I had just signed up for this podcasting course, which, by the way, if there's something that you want to do in life, I recommend investing in learning from someone who's already done what you want to do. If you're interested in podcasts, you let me know and I will tell you all about the course I took. But one of the assignments we had to do was to write a letter to yourself 1 year in the future. And if you've ever worked with a coach before, you probably have done something similar. I actually have my clients do this because there's something incredibly powerful about putting your dreams on paper before doubt and reality start telling you why it can't happen. So I wrote the letter, and in that letter, I congratulated myself for reaching 100,000 podcast downloads. Looking back now, I can't help but laugh at myself because I was so incredibly naive. I had only been listening to podcasts myself for a few months before I got this crazy idea to start one. I didn't know anything about microphones, about editing, about podcast hosting platforms, downloads, algorithms, SEO, or really anything else that went along with it. I didn't know what I didn't know. And I wasn't active on social media. I wasn't building some huge audience. I worked a full-time corporate job, and I'm also very much an introvert. So putting myself out there has never been easy for me. I was simply a mom with a microphone and a dream. And it didn't take long for me to realize that 100,000 downloads wasn't going to happen for me in a year, like not even getting close. In fact, it took me 2.5 years longer than I imagined. But this month, I'm finally going to read that letter again. And for the first time, those words I wrote those years ago are actually going to be true. This month, Mom Wife Career Life is going to reach 100,000 downloads. And honestly, I still can't believe I'm saying those words out loud because when I first started this podcast, I had this vision in my head of what the next few years would look like. I thought I'd be creating courses, coaching more moms, speaking at conferences, leading corporate trainings, and growing into this thriving business. But life had much different plans for me. Instead, life asked me to be present somewhere else. My family needed me, my kids needed me, work demanded more for me. There were seasons where I simply didn't have the capacity to build everything I dreamed of building. So those dreams, they unfortunately had to wait. And some of them are still waiting, but there's one thing that I refuse to let go of. This podcast, because I needed to keep one small piece of my dream alive. Even if everything else had to be put on hold, I couldn't let this go too. So every Monday and every Tuesday, I showed up for you. I get up at 4:30 in the morning before everyone else does. I do my morning routine. And while the rest of the house is asleep, I get to work on this podcast before my workday even begins. And sometimes I'd squeeze in recordings on weekends between basketball games or birthday parties and family time and grocery runs and laundry and all the beautiful chaos that comes with raising a family. Some episodes were recorded while traveling. Some were recorded during some of the hardest seasons of my life. Some weeks, I honestly wasn't even sure I had anything left to give, but I kept showing up. And not because it was easy, not because it was making me money, because truthfully, it still doesn't, at least not yet. There's plans for the future. I actually joke that this podcast is my nonprofit because every single episode has been my act of service, my way of pouring into working moms who just need someone to remind them that they're not alone. Someone who understands mom guilt, career guilt, the mental load, the constant pressure to feel like you're never quite doing enough. People might look at 100,000 downloads and see a number. I don't. I see over 350 episodes. I see thousands of hours of writing, recording, editing, and learning. I see early mornings, late nights, weekends, coffee, self-doubt, growth, consistency. I see every time I chose to keep a promise to myself. And then there's you. One of my favorite things to do is open my podcast analytics and look at the little map of the world. I can hover over the countries and see where you're listening from. And every single time, it amazes me. This podcast has now reached listeners in over 150 countries. Sometimes I'll hover over South Africa or Singapore, which, by the way, has become my third largest country for downloads. So if you're in Singapore, thank you for listening. Sometimes it's countries I've honestly never even heard before, but I always try to picture you. Maybe you're driving to work. Maybe you're folding laundry. Maybe you're taking a walk. Maybe you're sitting in the school pickup line. Maybe you're hiding in the pantry eating chocolate because you just needed 5 minutes to yourself. And I wonder what season of life you're in. I wonder what you're carrying. And I wonder what brought you to my podcast that day. And almost every single time, I say a little prayer for you. I say, God, I hope something that I said today reminds her that she's not alone and helps make her life just a little easier. Because you've never just been a download to me. Never. You're a real woman, living a real life, trying the very best to balance work, motherhood, marriage, friendships, your health, your dreams, and everything in between. And the fact that out of all the podcasts you could be listening to, you chose to spend part of your day with me. I don't take that lightly. So thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of your mornings, your walks, your workouts, your commute, your life. It is one of the greatest honors I've had. And while today is absolutely a celebration, it's also the beginning of a brand new chapter because I haven't given up on those dreams I had 3 years ago. In fact, I recently made one of the biggest investments that I've ever made in myself. I hired a business coach because I'm finally ready to take everything to the next level. I'm ready to create the courses, to coach the moms, to speak on stages, even though the thought of that brings up serious anxiety, but I am pushing through those fears because I want to help more women, and especially us moms, create the work-life balance that you've been searching for. And not because I want bigger numbers, but because I want to make a bigger impact. And if you're listening today and there's a dream that's been sitting on your heart, a business, a passion, a book, a career change, whatever it is, I really want to encourage you. Please don't give up on it. Maybe it won't happen on the timeline you imagined. Mine didn't. Maybe it will take longer than you plan. Mine did. Maybe life will ask you to press pause for a season. Mine did. But a delayed dream isn't a dead dream. Sometimes it's simply waiting for the right season. I truly believe that if God placed that dream on your heart, He did it for a reason. And if your faith looks different than mine, maybe you'd say the universe placed it there. Either way, I don't think those dreams are an accident. There will always be a reason not to start. Not enough time, not enough money, too much fear, too many responsibilities. Believe me, I've used every single one of those excuses on myself. But if it's time standing in your way, that's exactly why I'm here. That's what I do. Helping overwhelmed working moms create more time and live more intentionally is what I'm called to do. And if I can help you in any way, please reach out to me. You can find me on Instagram at mom.wife.career.life. I absolutely love hearing from you and I respond to every single message. And before you go, I have one small favor to ask. If this podcast has ever encouraged you, if it's made you smile, if it's helped you through a difficult day, or simply reminded you that you're not alone, would you take just 1 minute and leave me a 5-star rating? If you listen on Apple Podcasts, that has the biggest impact because it helps the show reach a lot more working moms. And if you have the extra time and want to write a review, I can't tell you how much that would mean to me. Those ratings and review help push this podcast in front of more moms who might need this encouragement. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for believing in me before I really believed in myself. Thank you for showing up week after week. Thank you for helping turn a dream that once lived only in a letter into reality. Here's to the first 100,000 downloads, and here's to whatever comes next. I have a feeling we're just getting started. Sending you so much love and light until next time on Mom Wife Career Life with Carrie Pat. Before you go, if you found this podcast helpful, I would be so grateful if you would take a minute, go on over to iTunes and leave me a review. If you have other stressed out mamas in your life that you feel this podcast could help, take a screenshot of this episode, post it on your Instagram stories and tag me, and let them know that they are not alone and they can create balance in their life too. If there's a topic you'd like me to cover or you just want to connect, DM me on Instagram at mom.wife.career.life or come on over and hang out in our free Facebook community, Work-Life Balance for Working Moms. Sending you so much love and light until next time on Mom Wife Career Life with Carrie Pat.